Hey, this video is more or less for Abram, my son, who asked for some pointers and some of his favorite dishes that I've prepared when I lived in Tucson. What I'm making for Courtney and I tonight is that I got some really nice prime tenderloins. You don't want to waste a cut of beef like that with just any old sauce or any sauce at all. So it demands some precision in our meal for tonight. So she's going to get back at 8 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock. Threw these in earlier this morning. It's just Courtney and I. Here are the bones. We're about halfway done roasting them. And this is how I do my morpois there. I'm just going to dump all this right on top there and throw it right back in the oven. This alcohol-free Cabernet actually works better for my sauces. And the reason I'll tell you why is that you don't have to reduce it at such a high temperature to burn off the alcohol. Well, tomato paste is already concentrated, it's already reduced, right? And then concentrate all that you want in regards to consistency, texture, umami. It's a Japanese term for, the meatiness that you get in there, or it's its own thing. That's why we love kelp so much, right? And a lot of Asian cuisine that has seaweed in it and stuff, it has a natural umami flavor to it. It's amazing. I think MSG, this tomato paste is going to lend a lot of this. Mushrooms do add a depth that I really like. However, I try to make up for it in how I deal with my tomato paste. What I'm going to try to do is steal some umami from the tomato paste so that it has the mouthfeel and the concept, even though you're not going to detect the nuances that mushrooms do give you an exceptional taste. But my wife does not like mushrooms. And so, it's fine. It's fine. By the way, I only use cast iron when I cook. Why? Because I'm constantly learning how I can take care of my guests, whether they're friends or in my vocation. The simplest ways to prepare the foods that we love. If you've noticed before, this is my 2-person bordelaise. Okay? So this will be filled up about here without wasting a drop and not having any leftover. Okay? That's what's so exciting about this process. If we have company over, I go for 2 ramekins, okay? It's how I measure what I am reducing. So again, come back to this big funnel, right? And in traditional kitchens, you can have a steam jacketed kettle. You could have a big stock pot, right? Get that. I have electric. When I go out for my adventures today, there's a big risk. So I'm actually gonna throw it in the oven at a low temperature because this would scorch the bottom. You do not want scorching in any of this, okay? Even coming back to this tomato paste that I'm never gonna cook, it appears. Oh, that's almost ready. Okay, I'm gonna heat up this cast iron Dutch oven in this tomato paste. I'm gonna pour it on top of some high heat grapeseed oil, and I'm gonna brown it. I'm not gonna overcook it, right? But I'm gonna brown it, and this is going to create that umami that I talked about. It's going to mellow the acidity in the tomato paste, and it's gonna work magic when I pull these bones out of the oven. We're adult children learning how to cook. Don't worry about how perfect the julienne is, or the cubes, or the dices when we're doing this stuff. When we're making sauces like this, unless it's part of the soup itself, don't worry about consistency. The flavor will come out. When we're talking about this is going to be a 10 to 12 hour reduction. So the pieces and their sizes, how much surface area they have, becomes more of a moot point over time. When you're cooking things fast, like think about you're going to flash something in a pan. You cut that garlic up, it's going to burn. It's going to burn so quickly, you have to be poised and ready. If there's pieces that are too small, they're going to start burning. The same thing with onions. And what's really awesome is you're going to be saying, Well, how are you going to prevent the burning, right? Because this is 420 degrees, and this is going to heat up to a blazing heat that demands high heat oil, right? So this isn't like a soft pan saute. We are literally going to flash this, and we're going to pour wine right into the Dutch oven to start reducing that process. But more importantly, the pan that's inside of the oven right now, we're going to deglaze that, and that's going to get all those bits and pieces of collagen, fat, and marrow, and it's going to start boiling, and it's essential to get that right into here. And I'm going to keep using the wine so that I don't burn any of it, but all that flavor gets in here. And coming back to the tomato paste, remember, this is already reduced. So this is going to be a big part of what's left over eventually, where everything goes in here. So don't overdo it with anything except for time and, again, addressing those details. So hey, none of it's sticking, right? It's not burning. We're just kind of maturing this a little bit, right? Okay, so look at how much we have here, right? And we're gonna start making we're gonna deglaze this while it's still hot, and we're going to start our reduction here. Again, we're making a stock without adding stock, right? So in the end, this is going to taste just as good or better than store-bought. Someone might say, well, why don't you just get store-bought? You can't find the bordelaise though. You can make it, you can add the stock to the other ingredients, or you can make the stock itself, and that's what we're doing here. Final deglaze of the pan is with water, because I just want to see that I got all that flavor out of that broiling pan, because that's essential to the stock that we're making. And again, remember, we're just making a stock for two. It's kind of fun. I'm willing to work 13 hours for my wife and I to have a great dinner, but 13 hours for a ramekin that comes out of this, and two amazing prime tenderloins that deserve the best attention. My own kind of bordelaise here, without the mushrooms, remember. I'm gonna put whole peppercorns in here. They're all gonna get strained out. It's gonna still be a velvety sauce, so I'm gonna be a little messy, because I want the surface area of the pepper to be the outside of the peppercorn, because you know, a nice crack works well in my Caesar salad to a fresh crisp, but what I'm looking for is the soul of the peppercorn. So I'm gonna do it my traditional way. I'm gonna emulsify some freezing cold butter in this reduction near the end, very carefully, because that could fuck. Are you done? Our sauce isn't going to break because that butter is going to be cold, and we're going to whisk it in. See this garlic here? This is a slow sauce, right? So again, don't waste your time. Watch. I'm going to just cut the head off. Indeed, like I said, flavor bomb, okay? So see a lot of the stuff that's left over, you don't have to worry about it too much. You can actually throw the whole clove in there. When I make the big stock pots, I throw in, I cut my onions in half, and I throw the garlic in. I mash it actually, and just throw it in there. So there's my garlic. It's going to be one of the final pieces of the flavor profile. And then you might be asking, what about the rosemary? You know what? The rosemary, because it's fresh rosemary, could go either way. There's two philosophies here. It's a woody herb. It could go in early. But there's some natural oils and stuff that you don't get out of the dried herb that's the only reason that I use fresh herbs. The oil right off the leaves. When I'm pulling thyme off the stem, there's an essence to that gets lost moments after it's even plucked, right? So my rosemary is going to go in later, but it's going to go in before the butter, okay? I know that's a lot of stuff, but remember, time is our friend here. This is going to be here for a while. I'm going to go for an adventure and do some mountain climbing. I'm going to put it inside of the oven at a low temperature, and I'm going to put that lid back on that has still some flavor, right, on it from earlier when I roasted the bones. And you might be wondering, well, how's it going to reduce that way? You know what? This is going to be part of the flavor collection steps, but I'm actually going to strain all that stuff out about midway that I'm cooking it after my adventure, because I have to come back for the dogs anyways, and get all of those peppercorns, all that stuff out so we have something smoothy and silky left. And this is now when I'm going to throw in that rosemary, and I'm going to bubble it, I'm not going to boil it, but I'm going to simmer it and start reducing it down for the rest of the 6 hours or so. Once it's reduced, I'm going to start cooling it slightly so that I can introduce the freezing cold butter, and emulsify it without making it break. That's something, it just takes a little bit of practice, and I'll walk you through it. Okay? And then that sauce will be stable because of the emulsification process, which is critical, right? Because we're putting that bordelaise into a ramekin and sliding it off to the side on the heater, because we do have a little heater spot on there that's too hot for butter because you don't want your butter to separate, but it's just right for my bordelaises because they have been properly emulsified, which means that they're not going to separate when we reverse sear those fillets. And then finally use this same Dutch oven lid that I used to broil everything. It's still a little hot. That's going to be used at very high heat to put the grill marks on my steak and sear it, like I said, a reverse sear. And it's going to be spectacular because that nice charred reverse seared steak is going to be sitting atop those whipped parsnips and potatoes. And when we do those, I got fresh whole nutmeg, which is the flavor that I'm going for there. And I use white pepper as well that has a unique flavor. Okay, so it's about equal red wine, equal filtered water, okay? And with all the ingredients of the mirepoix and the bones, we're gonna go low and slow while I go on my adventure, okay? And it's already preheated because at 420, we roasted those bones and the mirepoix. Now, my primary goal is not to reduce. This is way too low of a temperature, to have those kind of results in it with a covered Dutch oven like we have here. But we're allowing those flavors to marry, so to speak. And this gives me time to go throughout my day. When I come back, when it's about half done, that is when we are going to strain it and add our aromatic rosemary and then start reducing it slowly. Courtney gets back from work at 8 p.m. And so when she gets in here, the last few steps are going to be done, which includes that emulsification of cold butter with the bordelaise that we're making right now, and the prep of the other vegetables. The other comment I'd make, indeed, if I haven't made a consomme yet with a Dutch oven, but if I were, I'd strongly recommend some chicken feet. I would go a little bit overkill with that collagen. I'm afraid that would be the part that would be difficult to replicate. I think you need a lot of surface area to allow the natural process of those flavors to release from our baked bones there. And traditionally you have what's called like a little consomme raft, as they would call it at the CIA. And this little raft is the natural process of this slow bubbling that I was talking about, where the impurities and the bits and pieces of whatnot, they magically work their way to the top like the rock cycle, right? In planet Earth, it's a planetary process because it uplifts And then it comes on the surface and it creates this little raft, right? And there's some bubbles in there and it's very fragile. It's like frog egg colonies, I'd imagine, or something. It's just floating there all peacefully. If you shake the stock pot, it all just falls apart. Sometimes it'll come back and sometimes it won't. It's like an extinction event, right? A mass extinction. That would be hard to do in a Dutch oven because there's not enough room. Well, so I would think maybe I could to have that process of where the debris comes to the top and floats. You have this bag, which the sachet that has your mirepoix in it, that's like, whew, this is a big bag of mirepoix. You know what? I would scale everything else down. A smaller mirepoix bag. Because again, there's no reason why, yes. We'll come back to that one as well. I think we can make a consommé with a Dutch oven on hot coals while we're camping. I've scooped out all of the peppercorns, garlic, all that stuff. And I'm just gonna squeeze on it here like this and get all that juice out. Get all that flavor back in, okay? And I'm gonna put the bones back in also. So get those bones back in there, okay? All right. And then, next thing I'm gonna do is add my herbs, my rosemary. It'll be easier to scoop out this way when I don't have all the other shit in there. Okay, so there's some rosemary, maybe some thyme. And we're just gonna let that do a slow little bubble gurgle. Bubble gurgle. Bubble gurgle. This looks okay. That looked better. Some thyme. I'm going to save a little bit of time for garnish. So I'll pick some nice ones. Some nice ones here. And some nice thymes. Put the rest in here. Again, like I said, I'll work that out soon. Yum, yum. And this time I'm not going to cover it because I'm going to let it slowly reduce in that oven.